the verdict, our election coverage, robust coverage that is, continues. Dr. Madu, you were making a point now.
Yes, I was talking about their criteria for choosing third parties you want to work with. It should be public information. There are a lot of third-party logistic companies in Nigeria that have capacity to do these things we are talking about. All they need is proper mobilization. They will give you practically. I don't want to talk about drones. Those ones are, you look like you are being utopian. But let's just come to the third-party logistics companies that are here. They can do that. If you must use National Union of Road Transport, you need to prepare them. They have to be on the same book and on the same page with you for you to be able to work with them. But in a situation where you have an ad hoc situation and you just say, okay, let's go to this association, give us people, a few days to election, it cannot work because you will never get them. They don't understand what is the objective of what we are doing. All they know is that you are saying, move one thing from one point to the other. So that's where I think if we start on time, create the criteria for people to partner with INEC in doing this, then we will get the right people. They are here. We don't have to travel to go and get them. I'm very sure of that.
Mr. Lubele, you were nodding, as he was talking there about the right about the right choice of partner. Is that the problem?
I would think so. I was embarrassed at my polling unit, VGC outside. It was a rickety truck, bus, white and green, that brought the people. They were crammed in, they were overloaded, and he dropped them and then started to go and then reversed and said, oh, come, you've forgotten something, and everybody burst into laughter, which means, like he said, they had not even run through the entire system. If you're going to run a system, you need to run through it severally to ensure that it is foolproof. But even moving on from there, I think Professor Patu Tomi did his PhD program on systems and interference. Why don't systems that work elsewhere, why don't they work in Africa? And he found out there is always this act of government. Let me remove government now and put Y factor. Systems that run everywhere, even if you run this logistics thoroughly, there's always this invisible hand that shows up from anywhere. And let's not kid ourselves. I mean, I think we really need to be honest there. I really don't see any difference between APC and PDP. I see it as there is a goalpost there and I need to score. If the left wing is proving too difficult, I try the right wing. And I keep trying until I get there. So if APC is not working for me, I move to PDP. If PDP is not working for me, I move to APC. Nothing spoiled. Yeah,
one of our panelists actually said that it's the same beer, but different label.
Exactly.
But then I asked him the question, the parties themselves cannot vote for themselves. Yes. So you should look towards the electorate themselves.
So we really need to understand what game are we playing. It's not a PDP versus APC game. It's a game of the people who are there as of now, who hold on to the status quo. Those who have been there since the 60s and then, they've transformed and all of that to whatever they are today, versus people who feel that it can be done in a better way, in a cheaper way, in a more qualitative manner, and for better ideals. So it's old versus new that we really, really have, and that's what the game plan really is.
Interesting. Let me take this over to Dr. Adeniyi. Dr. Adeniyi, okay, Dr. Adeniyi, just hold on.
Before we get to Dr. Adeniyi, let's go to Ilorin, that's in Kwara State. I believe we have Lanre Lasisi on the line there. Remember that we're talking about preparations for tomorrow. Lanre?
Yes, we are here in Ilorin, the state capital, or the capital of Kwara State, also known as the State of Harmony. For those who don't know that, the state takes pride in saying that it has a diverse population, but it's one that they're united and as much as possible try to live in harmony. Well, this morning we've gone round the town from morning till now, trying to get a feel of what's going on in the city. And it's been a very normal day as far as I'm concerned. You have people going about their normal businesses. You You have today had been set aside as a public holiday to allow people go about where they need to get to make everything they need to do, put that in place before the elections. And but if you go around the city, there's no anxiety whatsoever. There is nothing like we're getting ready for elections, or there's any what would you say, presence that will make you feel the city is tensed or anything. Everybody is going about their normal businesses. In short, the market looks like it's just alive and everything is going very well. But we've spoken to the resident electoral commissioner, who is also giving us the preparedness of the commission for the election. We've also spoken with the police commissioner for the state, who's giving us like their own take on preparations, telling us what they're putting in place. So right now we're going to go to try and see if we can get a different perspective. I have with me here someone from the civil society who will be giving her own perspective. Good evening.
Good evening.
Yes, just I'll hold it. Now can you give us your own feel of how preparations are going for the governorship elections?
Yes, thank you. The preparation is going well. Is on the high standard. Everything is in place as I speak. All the material, sensitive and non-sensitive, has been deployed to the various LGAs. So everything is intact, and I think tomorrow material is going to be a very free and fair election. Okay,
you took part, you also covered or observed for the presidential elections. Yes. Can you give us a take of that preparation and this preparation, what you feel, how would you assess the two?
It was a perfect thing. The presidential one was superb. Likewise, there was all touches were taking place, all things were put in place for the success of this gubernatorial, as it was for the presidential election.
So you're looking forward to tomorrow being free?
Yes, a free, fair, violence-free election tomorrow.
Okay, well, there you have it. An observer there giving her own perspective of what we should expect tomorrow. And I'd just like to give you some numbers to just give you an idea of what will be going down tomorrow. Kwara State has 16 local governments that the elections will be taking part in. We have 35 candidates contesting for governorship in these elections. We have 338 candidates jostling for 24 seats in the state houses or the House of Assembly, and they will be doing that from 19 political parties. And I can tell you also that from the figures we have with us, we have a 1.4, a little over 1.4 PVCs that have been collected in this state. And interestingly, we have 1.1 that have been collected. So 1.4 accredited that got their PVCs and that went and registered for the PVCs. And we also have 1.1 that collected. So that means that means we have a little figure that didn't collect, and that means we can look forward to a large number, hopefully, that will turn out from the 16 local governments to take part in this election. So that's the picture here on ground in Ilorin. Back to you, IJ.
All right, thanks a lot, Larry. A very comprehensive one there, especially the figures that you're reeling out there. And as you were talking, our panelists were mumbling. So we'll find out why they were doing that, particularly when he talked about 35 candidates contesting for the governorship seat and 330 candidates just vying for 24 seats in the State House of Assembly elections. And so they felt that was something that worried them. True?
I wouldn't say it worried me. I would say it excited me more, because it shows that quite a lot of more people are now really interested in their future. Okay, so people are quite interested in their future. The worry is the fact that we don't need to go to that numbers. We don't need to get into that. I think at some point in time we should have had some.
You're talking about for the governorship, the number of seats?
Yes,
people, okay.
We should have had some form of collaboration to have more impact. But I think that will happen over the next two or three cycles. We're in the 5th. I think by the time we're getting to the 8th, we'll come to understand that we don't need 35 candidates.
Dr. Madi, collaboration, do collaborations work in this part of the country?
It should work, really, because, you know, when I picked up the ballot paper for presidency, you know, it's overwhelming.
Yes.
Why do we have to have this number of candidates? Why won't INEC have conditions that qualify people? For example, after this election, any political party that has not won one seat in the State House of Assembly, do we have such conditions?
Yeah, there is.
Are we applying it and we still have this kind of number?
Yes.
Well, I think we won't go far. You know, one young person said that they say that the youths are the leaders of tomorrow. So he asked, when will tomorrow come? If they want the tomorrow to come, then they must learn to work together, to collaborate. Just look at what happened, some partnership that didn't work at the presidential level and the rest of them. But I think the number is just too much. It's part of the challenge of INEC. And then, of course, you have the court cases. At what point in time do you shut down that no names can go on the ballot box when there are cases pending in court? I think this week there's a court case, there was a judgment.
That's right.
That is either changing a candidate or putting a new person on the ballot paper.
True, actually. Yeah.
To tell you the truth, I don't envy INEC. It is not an easy job, given the way we do things in this country.
Dr. Dini, we haven't forgotten you there. Do you want to weigh in on what you're hearing? Do we have too many people on the ballot? And do you think collaborations can work in this part of the country?
It was actually good for the system that the space of political contestation was expanded at some point, you know. But what is regrettable is that, you know, yes, it was legally okayed, you know, but again, perhaps the nature of our Nigerians sometimes, we took advantage of that weakness, you know, to abuse the process, you know. If you see the presidential election, the build-up to the presidential election, for instance, some of those contestants actually contributed to the stimulation of ideas, you know, while the campaign lasted. If you listen to them very carefully, some of them were even much more sophisticated at the level of ideation on how to take Nigeria out of the woods, you know. So if we had catch those kind of people, the kind of robustness, you know, that was injected into the political process would have been absent, you know. So it was good, it's salutary that the space is expanded, but it's just problematic that it was again abused, you know, and it became a problem for INEC, you know. I think going forward, like some of the panelists have said, it might be good to revisit this aspect of our law so that we can have some sense of regulation. But in doing that, we also have to be careful because there's nothing peculiar about these to us. You know, record has it that India has nearly up to about 200 political parties. Yes, we do not have to copy them sheepishly, but if they could manage their process, you know, to some extent, and the system is functioning, even if marginally, there's nothing stopping us from also finding ways of bringing about some better form of regulation. Okay. You know, there's no sense in caging people. There's no sense in caging opinion. Association is free. The Supreme Court has said that. But at the same time, there could be issue. What we need to do, the challenge before us, is how do we manage these in a much more functional way, such that it will not affect our time, it will not affect our resources, and it will be contributory to national development. Okay, and it reminds me again of the point that Olumide made.
Dr. Adeni, the argument in some quarters is that, well, you brought up the issue of India having over 200 parties. They also have about 1 billion in their population. Now, if you do mathematics and weigh Nigeria's population over 200 million with 93 political parties, and India over 1 billion with 200 political parties, they'll tell you that, hey, the numbering doesn't really go too well in our favor. But let's put that aside and look at the question of management of the process itself. The argument is that INEC, the umpire in Nigeria, is not as independent as it ought to be. Would you agree?
Well, yeah, the question of independence, sir, is relative. On paper, we have, INEC is independent, and we have seen some things in our recent past to show that they are independent, and if we have seen some, especially from the postponement, for instance, where the chairman said matter-of-factly that there were no interferences, and we saw the evidence where the chairman of the ruling party was very trenchant in his criticism of the postponement, and we even saw the president saying very straightforwardly as well that what INEC did was incompetence. Well, other people might interpret it differently, but the sense it made to me was that this organization is independent, largely so as well. So yes, there will be interferences, there will be attempts at influencing them, but I think we have moved away from the days of old, from around 10, 14 years back, where it was much more easier to influence a body like INEC, because these days when elections are advancing, when we're preparing for election, they are quick to invite in international and local observers, and people are always having their ears to the ground. And the mantra, free, fair, credible, and now we're adding transparent election, is gaining ground. It cannot be achieved in an atmosphere of where we have the absence of independence. We may not be at the destination that we are in, that we want to be at yet, but I think we are making progress at the level of independence for INEC. And if we continue at this pace, it's just a matter of time. Like I said earlier, in 2023, I expect something much better that we are witnessing at the moment. And in 4 years after 2023, I don't know what it is at the moment now, we also have something that could be that could be a marked improvement. All right. The important thing is to continue to make progress, really, and we'll get there at the end of the day.
Dr. Adeni, if we let you, we can just have you talking the whole day, but thank you so much, Dr. Adeni. Let's come down here for the closing words from our guest in the studio here in Lagos. Prince Adigbenle.
Okay, just two things I will say. On the multiplicity of parties that we have, I think it has happened. Let's learn lessons and move from it. The tragedy would be to have had this experiment and not learn lessons as political players and as the electorate. And then also on the last point it was making right now, I would say it's not sufficient for INEC to be independent. We also must see them and have confidence that they are truly independent.
So.
Dr. Madu, when you're answering, could you also tell us how to avoid a crisis? Because we know that the results will not be declared if there is a crisis and disruption of the process as you respond.
Yeah, okay. Let me start from the logistics point of view. It takes 4 years for the next election to come. So immediately we're done with this, we need to start planning for the next one. Recruit the right partners, plan the right strategy, train the staff, and then we can get there. About the disruptions, I think the election was a little bit over-militarized. The policemen at the polling stations are not armed. So, I mean, that looks like a friendly situation. But there are places where, obviously, the presence of the military were too heavy, even to the extent of people being afraid to go and vote. So if we want to avoid the disruption, politicians need to play down this must-win attitude. That's what one thing I think we need to do. Because you can plan all the logistics, but they can disrupt it.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much, Dr. Obiora Madu, who's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Logistics and Transport. Thank you for joining us. Prince Olumide Odugbenle, transformational leadership expert. And from our Abuja studio, we had Dr. Abiodun Adeni, who's a senior lecturer at the Beige University in Abuja. Thank you, gentlemen, for sharing your thoughts with us.
Thank you.
That's right, but we're not going away, though. At the top of the hour, we have news tracks, so just to keep you updated on all the news coming in today. We also have Poll Stream after that as well, looking at what our social media input as regards this elections, and then we'll be right back. So the verdict continues after all that.
Join us again.
Yeah.